Good afternoon. We will now begin 2021 Asem Mooc Stakeholders Forum. I am Lee Ji-hang, Professor of Global Education Cooperation Program at Seoul National University, and I'm honored to lead you through today's event. Once again, I would like to thank you all for your participation, both online and offline. Let me welcome all of you, and I'm very glad to see you all. Asem Network of MOOCs initiative is one of the initiatives carried out under the leadership of Asem, and it was launched with the proposal made by the Ministry of Education of the Republic of Korea and National Institute of Lifelong Education during the 6th Asem Education Ministers meeting held in Seoul in 2017. Currently, 12 countries in Asia and Europe and 2 international organizations are taking part in. Asem Mooc Stakeholder Forum is an annual forum that started in 2018 in Korea, and this year's theme is Asem Mooc Initiative under the global UN SDG focusing on SDG 4 and SDG 17. The forum will consist of 2 sessions and panel discussion. I'm sure that this will provide a valuable venue to enhance education equity and promote networking between Europe and Asia. Then, without further ado, we will now begin the opening ceremony of the 2021 Asem Mooc Stakeholders Forum, organized by NIL and hosted by the Ministry of Education. We will first invite Kang Dae-jung, President of NIL, for his opening remark,
which has been pre-recorded, and here is the video. Hello, I am Kang Dae-jung, President of National Institute for Lifelong Education, NIL. Welcome to the 2021 Asem Mooc Stakeholders Forum. This forum will address the UN SDGs and MOOC in Session A, and cases of MOOC utilization to achieve SDGs 4 and 17 in Session B. Speakers in Session A are Professor Kwon Hyuk-ju of Seoul National University, former Director Jung Woo-tak of FCU, Chancellor Melinda Bandelaria of the University of the Philippines Open University, and Chief Enterprise Officer Leah Belsky of Coursera, US. For Session B, we have former Vice President of KOICA, Ms. Baek-soo Ki, Professor Yu Sung-sang of SNU, Director Lee Ji-hong of APSEU, and Professor Bang Yong-hwan of Keonyang University. Thank you for taking the time to give presentations. MOOC was initiated to raise accessibility to higher education and offers anyone, anywhere, to access high-quality university courses at any time. This year, NIL is partnering with EBS and JTBC to produce MOOC in broadcasting contents under a new endeavor. In November 2017, Seoul hosted the 6th Asem Education Ministers meeting, where the MOOC initiative was officially launched. We now hold the 4th forum. Last year, Thailand and the Philippines and other initiative participants shared their experience in operating the MOOC platform and their best practice in operating courses. This year, we will discuss strategies to utilize MOOC to achieve the SDGs and share examples and ideas of practicing the MOOC Global Partnership. Quality education is essential in achieving the SDGs. I hope today's forum serves as a venue for discussing the role of MOOC in bolstering access to quality education. The Asem Education 2030 Strategy Report presented the goal of maintaining regional balance between Asia and Europe while promoting physical mobility and mutual understanding. NIL will continue its endeavor to cooperate and communicate with stakeholders in Asem MOOC initiative countries. Once again, thank you for participating in today's forum. Thank you very much. Thank you, President Kang Dae-jung of NIL, for the encouraging remarks. And now we will start Session A on the topic Global UN Agenda and MOOC. We will examine the role of higher education institutions and international organizations. The presentations for this session have been pre-recorded. We have 4 presentations ready. The first presentation is on the role of MOOC and higher education to achieve UN SDGs by Professor Kwon Hyuk-ju of Seoul National University, Graduate School of Public Administration. Here is the video presentation.
Hello, I'm Hyuk Ju-gun, professor at the Graduate School of Public Administration, and I'm also director of International Development Research Center, Seoul National University's Asia Center. I'm very happy to give my presentation today to the Asem Mooc Stakeholders Forum. Today, I'm going to talk about the role of the MOOC and higher education in achieving SDGs. I'm going to share my presentation and continue. In the SDG framework, SDG 4 is about quality education. Education is a crucial element for people's life. With education, people can strive for their own life. For society, education is engine for economic development and social development. With a highly educated and skilled population, country can make a progress in economy and the society. From a global perspective, we cannot achieve SDGs without educated people. Here, I would like to bring MOOC to your attention as a tool of SDGs. Massive, online, and open course can provide inclusive and equitable education and promote lifelong education. These are exactly what SDG 4 aims to achieve. I would also like to point out we need to have a partnership with different development partners and stakeholders to achieve our aim of inclusive and equitable education. Partnership among different countries and different stakeholders is crucial to achieve SDGs. Let me move to Southeast Asia. Here is a comparative trend in higher education. In this graph, you can see recent trend in higher education in different regions and countries. It is true that Southeast Asian countries have made a great progress. Indonesia, Malaysia are good examples, while Cambodia needs further effort. If we compare Southeast Asian countries with South Korea and North America, there is a large gap. This is our challenge, how to fill this gap. There are also great difference in higher education among Southeast Asian countries. Indonesia and the Philippines have performed very well, while the Laos, Cambodia needs further effort. Here, I like to mention about the yellow line representing female populations. Female students are doing very well in Southeast Asia. The question is whether we have a necessary number of higher education institutes to provide places for students in order to fill the gap between the regions and to achieve SDG 4. It is impossible to establish higher education institute in the short term to achieve SDG 4. Here, the MOOC can be a great tool for our purpose. MOOC are open and online free systems. They will give access large number of students in developing countries, including Southeast Asia. In particular, MOOC can provide affordable technical vocation training and tertiary education. Skilled workforce will find jobs and they begin new enterprises. The strength of MOOC is that there is no spatial boundaries and temporal limitations in disseminating knowledges. They can reach large number of people across the boundaries. We have already a wide range of the MOOC platforms. edX, Coursera, and the Khan Academies are pioneers. But there are also other platforms as well. The K-MOOC is a platform provided National Institute for Lifelong Education in Korea. Of course, higher education institute, universities, and the specialized institute have made various efforts to contribute SDG process, not only creating knowledges and educating students, they also produce MOOC for students all over the world, including developing countries. Universities have gone through digital transformations in education and research. They use a wide range of IT technology, big data for education and research. For instance, students can listen to their lecture before the class, and they begin their class by asking questions to the professors. We call such new practice as a flipped learning. In the process, many universities produce educational contents which can be used for the MOOC. These are the avenues we should further explore. Having said this positive side of MOOC, it is also important to point out the weakness of the MOOC and the challenge for the future. First, it is low completion rate. A large number of students who took a MOOC could not complete their course. Secondly, there are large gaps in digital technology between the countries and the regions and individuals. Third, it is necessary to have a quality assurance in MOOC so that students who finish their course in MOOC can have a credit for international acceptance. Here, I would like to show the digital gap among Southeast Asian countries. Singapore, Malaysia, and Brunei doing fine, but other countries are still long way off. With such a digital gap, it will be very, very difficult to make MOOC available to students who want to learn. This is the area the Asem Mooc stakeholders should work together. The COVID-19 has made it very clear to us that we should move to the future with new technology and a new way of education. I have a great expectation with Asem Network MOOC. The network should work together for the development of MOOC and education, and by doing so, contributing SDG process. Well, this is my presentation. And thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Kwon, for the presentation. And moving on to the second presentation, Dr. Chung Woo-tak, former director of APSEU, will give a presentation on UNESCO APSEU's contribution to SDG 4. And please welcome this presentation with a big hand.
Hello, everybody. My name is Woo-tak Chung, the fifth director of Asia Pacific Center of Education for International Understanding, shortly APSEU. Today's lecture will be Asia Pacific Center of Education for International Understanding and Global Citizenship Education. Number one will be APSEU. I will introduce you to APSEU, and then I will introduce what is global citizenship education. And then I'll move on to global citizenship education in the global agenda. Lastly, APSEU's initiative on global citizenship education. Do you know APSEU, Asia Pacific Center of Education for International Understanding? APSEU is a UNESCO Category 2 center established in 2000 by the agreement between UNESCO and Korean government, being mandated to promote education for international understanding and global citizenship education with the UNESCO member states. APSEU plays a pivotal role in promoting global citizenship education, reflected in both UNESCO Education 2030 and UN Sustainable Development Goal, SDGs. This is the building of APSEU. What is global citizenship education? Global citizenship education is a sense of belonging and responsibility to common humanity for peaceful and sustainable world. It is also a way of understanding, acting, and relating oneself to other and environment based on universal values through respect for diversity and pluralism. These are core themes of global citizenship education: peace, human rights, sustainable development, cultural diversity, globalization. UNESCO clarified 3 domains of global citizenship education. Number 1, cognitive domain. Number 2, socio-emotional domain. Number 3, behavioral domain. Qualification of global citizens. Global citizens should equip non-cognitive skills such as empathy, care, communication skills, tolerance, understanding. Key pedagogical principles for global citizenship education, those are holism, dialogism, value formation, critical empowerment. Global citizenship education can be taught almost all subjects such as moral education, civic education, geography, history, language, science, art, physical education, literature, drama. That's why we call it transformative pedagogy. Now I will introduce you global citizenship education as a global agenda, UN SDG 4.7. In 2012, former UN Secretary General Mr. Ban Ki-moon initiated Global Education First Initiative, shortly GEFI or GEFI. I will quote, "It is not enough for education to produce individuals who can read, write, and count. Education must be transformative and must foster global citizenship." GEFI or GEFI, Global Citizenship Education, was very much focused. In this slide, this is only one slide, but you can well understand what APSEU's contribution to global citizenship education. As I told you, Mr. Ban initiated Global Education First initiative September 2012. 1 year late, APSEU organized technical consultation on global citizenship education in September 2013 in APSEU, located in Seoul, Korea. This is a photo that was taken during the meeting. That was first meeting on global citizenship education. And then 3 months later, UNESCO organized the first UNESCO Forum on Global Citizenship Education in Bangkok in December 2013. Then UNESCO organized the Global EFA meeting in Muscat, Oman, May 2014. In this GEM meeting, APSEU organized one session on global citizenship education. It was very successful, and then finally, Muscat Agreement declared global citizenship education. That was first official document that contains global citizenship education. And then 1 year later, in May 2015, in Incheon, Korea, UNESCO organized the World Education Forum. In this World Education Forum, all UNESCO member states adopted global citizenship education as part of Incheon Declaration. After 4 months, UN SDG Summit adopted global citizenship education, a part of SDG 4.7. That was September 2015 in UN. This is global citizenship education. Global citizenship education is included in SDG target 4.7. Number 4 is quality education. The target 7 is global citizenship education. I will introduce you SDG target 4.7. By 2030, ensure that all learners acquire the knowledge and skills needed to promote sustainable development, including, among others, through education for sustainable development and sustainable lifestyles, human rights, gender equality, promotion of a culture of peace and nonviolence, global citizenship, and appreciation of cultural diversity and of culture's contribution to sustainable development. This is SDG target 4.7. Very complex, but very simple. Only 2 education. Number 1, global citizenship education. Number 2, education for sustainable development. All those 2 education monitored by 4 indicators, such as national education policy, curriculum, teacher education, student assessment. I believe global citizenship education is key concept, key player to achieve all 17 SDG goals. Now I will move to APSEU's initiative on global citizenship education. You understand global citizenship education. In this part, I will introduce APSEU's activities on global citizenship education. APSEU has 4 areas. Number 1, capacity building of educators. Number 2, research and policy development. Number 3, material developments and information dissemination. Number 4, networking and partnership. I will start from program area 1, capacity building of educators. APSEU, this is a flagship project of APSEU, Asia Pacific Training Workshop. Since 2001 to today, almost 20 years, APSEU annually organize Asia Pacific training workshop. Annually invites around 30 professionals in the field of teacher education from UNESCO member states of Asia Pacific region. You can enjoy those photos. It was in 2018. Second, Global Capacity Building Workshop on Global Citizenship Education. It was started 2016. APSEU invites senior level educators from all over the world. Those senior educators having workshop in Korea, and then after the workshop, return to their own country. They organize a follow-up activities, such as in 2017 in Philippines. This is a follow-up activity in Philippines, and this photo shows follow-up activities in Indonesia. Global Capacity Building Workshop composed of those 6 components: themes, human rights, culture of peace, living in harmony with Earth and ESD, respect for diversity, democratic dialogues. Third one is only for Korean teachers, Global Citizenship Education Lead Teacher Program. The objective is to promote global citizenship education, teaching and learning in Korean schools. Until since 2015, APSEU trained almost 3,000 teachers in Korea. In Korea, we have 17 provincial office of education. 17 provincial office of education nominate 64 teachers for global citizenship education, and then APSEU train them almost 1 week. Then Minister of Education appoints them as GCD national leader teachers. They are very proud of it. Then after the training, all those teachers return to their own cities, and then they organize follow-up activities like this. This is Global Citizenship Education Leader Teacher Program. Young people is key to achieve global citizenship in the world. That's why APSEU organized a youth leadership workshop on global citizenship education since 2015. APSEU would like to enhance the capacity of youth leaders to lead and educate global citizenship education. Annually invites 50 youth young leaders from all over the world. And then finally, APSEU set up Global Citizenship Education Youth Network. This is very unique program, International Teacher Exchange Program. Korean government, Republic of Korea, exchange teachers with those 7 countries: Cambodia, Indonesia, Malaysia, Mongolia, Philippines, Thailand, Vietnam, for 1 semester, for 3 to 4 months. So, for example, Korean teacher visit Cambodia, and he or she teach his or her subject at classroom in Cambodian school. So for 3 to 4 months, they can directly experience such what global citizenship in these foreign countries. The program started 2012, annually exchange teachers, and then now we have more than 1,000 teachers in this program. Offline training course is not enough. That's why we have online global citizenship education training courses, GCD online campus. It has very diverse programs, introductory courses, advanced courses. You can click www.gced global GCAD online campus.org, then you can freely participate in this online program. This online program, in the next session, my former colleague, Madame Lee Ji-hong, will explain more details. I will move to a program area 2, research and policy development. APSEU provides financial assistance to the developing countries to develop global citizenship education curriculum. First cycle from 2016 to 2018, the target countries were Cambodia, Mongolia, Uganda, Colombia. Second cycle started 2019 to 2021. Target countries are Philippines, Sri Lanka, Lebanon, and Kenya. 3-year program project. We have a very successful outcome in Cambodia. Cambodian Ministry of Education developed GCD integrated national curriculum, 2 subjects, history and moral civics. Colombia and Mongolia developed teacher's guide on global citizenship education. As you see, in Uganda case and Mongolia. In Uganda, developed GCD teaching and learning materials like this. And in Korea, APSEU provide financial assistance to universities. To those universities open new course on global citizenship education. It started 2016. Annually, 10 universities selected. Until today, more than 50 courses were open in the universities. I'll move to program area 3, material development and information dissemination. APSEU established a global citizen campus in 2016. The campus, the objective is to provide global citizenship education learning opportunities to visiting students at the experiential learning space. Main target is secondary school students. Annually, 10,000 students visit this campus. So we provide customized program for students. APSEU run UNESCO GCD clearinghouse. In this clearinghouse, you can get all information from all over the world. Please click www.gcedclearinghouse.org. This clearinghouse consists of 7 languages: English, French, Spanish, Arabic, Russian, Chinese, Korean. So you can easily get information on global citizenship education in this UNESCO GCD clearinghouse. UNESCO is well-known international organization on world heritage, world cultural heritage, world natural heritage. That's why APSEU started teaching global citizenship through world heritage. So, for example, Bagan in Myanmar, Angkor Wat, Cambodia, Samarkand, Bukhara, Malacca, Almaty, Jeju, etc. And APSEU published so many very good publications, such as Shared History of Southeast Asia, Cultural Understanding through painting of Southeast Asia and Korea, 100 Everyday Objects. Now I will introduce you networking and partnership. APSEU annually organizes UN Global Citizenship Education Seminar in UN. This is a photo that was taken in 2018. UN member states set up UN Global Citizenship Education Group of Friends. I was invited in 2018, those group of friends meeting in UN. Annually, as I told, UN and UNESCO organize a global citizenship education meeting. APSEU annually organize International Conference on Global Citizenship Education since 2016, 17, 18, 19, and then online international conference 2020, 2021. As you see, former UN Secretary General Mr. Ban delivered keynote speech, and Madame Briones, Minister of Education of Philippines, attended, and Minister of Bhutan attended in this meeting. Only one institution, APSEU, cannot implement a whole global citizenship education programs in this world. That's why APSEU would like to set up global citizenship education network in this world. It was started 2016, and then 2017, APSEU set up African regional network and Arab states regional network and Latin America and Caribbean regional network. In 2018, Asia Pacific regional network was established. Finally, 2018, November 2018, in Lisbon, Portugal, APSEU established Europe and North America regional network. Then, finally, in 2019, UNESCO and APSEU co-organized and co-established Global Citizenship Education Global Network. The name is Global Citizenship Education Actors Platform. In this world, we have global network on global citizenship education. Thank you very much for your attention. And my colleague, Madame Lee Ji-hong, will introduce about online campus in the next program. Thank you very much for your cooperation and attention. And I hope you will study more about APSEU and global citizenship education. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you. So that was the presentation on the SDG and the APSEU's contribution to SDG 4. Now we are going to have some time for overseas presentations. So the helping achieve the SDG through MOOC, the Philippine Initiative Plans and Challenges. This presentation will be delivered by Melinda Bandelaria, Chancellor of the University of Philippines Open University.
Good day. First, let me thank the organizer, the K-MOOC Office of the National Institute for Lifelong Education, or NILE, for giving me this opportunity to share our own experience on how MOOCs, or massive open online courses, help achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. So let me share my presentation. Okay, so I titled my presentation today as Helping Achieve the SDGs Through MOOCs, the Philippine Initiatives, Plans, and Challenges. So we develop our MOOCs in relation to SDGs under this construct, that at the center of each SDG is education, or better, if it's open education, aside from being a goal itself or being part of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. So what are the Philippine initiatives towards this end? So first, we have our own learning management system, or LMS, for our massive open online courses, so dedicated only for MOOCs, and this especially for our teacher training programs. Our MOOCs are endorsed by the Commission on Higher Education, and to facilitate access, the learning management system or the MOOCs that we offer can also be accessed using the mobile gadget. So we started our journey, our MOOCs journey in 2013, and our MOOCs are subject, topic, or learning outcomes specific with specific audience in mind. Although they are offered to, they are available and can be accessed by everyone interested to learn. When we develop our MOOCs, there is a certain goal or a specific audience that we hope to reach. So we design the MOOC given that objective in mind or framework in mind. Our MOOCs are OER based. The content are all open educational resources. Even the platform that we are using is open access or powered by Moodle. And because of that, we can release our MOOCs as OER itself, because our MOOCs are also CC licensed. And that's one of the models that we are promoting. And some of the MOOCs that we develop, being specific, having a target audience in mind, these are equivalent to the content of credit courses, which some or of the higher education institutions in our country are offering. So specific to the SDGs, the MOOCs that we offer, being an educational institution, we cater mostly to SDG number 4, which is to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. And because of that, we are offering MOOC certification programs, which we started doing as early as 2017. So these are the examples of our MOOC certification programs, the teacher accreditation, child rights protection and promotion, etc. This is our strategy so that we can provide lifelong learning opportunities for all. So as you can see, these certification programs cater to different topics and also different professions. Specific to SDG 4.4, wherein we look at the ICT, the training for ICT, especially among the youth. So we have MOOCs, in fact, 10 MOOCs on digital literacy training. So these are the modules under this certification program. Digital productivity tools, online collaboration tools, etc. We even have a MOOC on cybersecurity and also on global digital citizenship. So these particular MOOCs are made available or were designed with the secondary school students, level students, high school students as our learners, target learners. Specific for 4.C, wherein we hope that we can provide the teachers with minimum qualification so that they will be able, they have this better credentials to teach the youth at different levels. So we also have certification programs specific for teachers, like the open distance e-learning teacher accreditation, the technology for teaching and learning, and the various training MOOCs, which we have developed and implemented, offered, made available through our collaboration with the Commission on Higher Education. Now, for SDG 4.7, wherein we look at the global citizenship education, sustainable development, we also have MOOCs on Satayama Online, living in harmony with nature. So through this particular set of MOOCs, we are looking at how the youth, especially from that area, the Ifugao area, can harness the potential of the natural resources. Note that this area was declared by UNESCO as one of the national heritage areas in the country. So we would like to harness it, at the same time, make it more productive and engage the youth in the set of activities that would lead towards sustainable development, considering the environment and what can be done to maximize the resources in that area for national food security. I have mentioned that one of the models that we have followed in developing our MOOCs is that the content should be equivalent or is equivalent to the credit courses offered by the various higher education institutions in our country. And as such, we make available our MOOCs as OERs. Our goal here is to provide inclusive access not only to learning opportunities, but also to achievement of learning outcomes. So when we provide access to learning opportunities, we made them part of our learning programs. But if the content themselves, the course content, will not be made accessible or available for free, then probably it will defeat the whole purpose. So at the same time that we are providing access, equitable access to learning opportunities, we also made sure that these learners will be given the equal opportunity to achieve the learning outcomes by providing the open access content of the course materials. So these are some of the examples. So we have this art in the ASEAN region. This is part of one course in the graduate certificate or the Master of ASEAN Studies, which the UP Open University offers. We also have 15 MOOCs on business communication, business process management. There are 15 MOOCs equivalent to 5 credit courses on service management program. This is also offered as one track for several degree programs like business management, which are also offered by the many HEIs in the Philippines. So in this model, one MOOC is equal to 1 credit unit in the content. So most of our credit courses carry 3 units. So 3 MOOCs will be equivalent to 1 3-unit credit course that usually comprise the degree programs that our HEIs offer. This is another example in business analytics. We have 27 MOOCs equivalent to 9 credit courses on business analytics, also as a track for several degree programs offered by the different HEIs like business management, IT education, and the likes. So take note that these MOOCs, the content of these MOOCs, were aligned with the learning outcomes identified in the policy standards and guidelines issued by the Commission on Higher Education for the different degree programs that can offer these areas as a minor track or as a field of specialization in these various degree programs. So these are the other MOOCs that we offer that can address other goals included in our SDGs. So health and wellness in the workplace, so like nutrition, healthy body weight and physical activity, healthy timing and spacing of pregnancy. In terms of SDG number 17, we develop the MOOCs that we offer on SDGs in collaboration or in partnership with the different organizations, even government agencies. So like for instance, I have mentioned the training programs or MOOCs that we develop for higher education institution teachers or HEI teachers. Many of the MOOCs that we develop towards the training or capability building of our HEI teachers were in collaboration with the Commission on Higher Education. We also have this MOOC on early childhood education, which is in partnership with a private organization or foundation, the Ramon Aboitiz Foundation Incorporated. And we have the MOOCs on child rights protection and promotion, which we developed in collaboration with UNICEF Philippines. I have mentioned the Input Teach Digital Literacy Training MOOCs, which we developed in partnership with the leading telecommunications company in the Philippines, the Philippine Long Distance Telephone Company. Still on partnerships for the development of MOOCs, harnessing SDG number 17, the Satoyama Online Living in Harmony with Nature MOOCs were developed with the funding from a foreign partner agency. The Business Communication or the Service Management Program MOOCs were developed with funding from the Asian Development Bank. The Technology for Teaching and Learning we developed with UNESCO and also with Simio Innotech and the social entrepreneurship for sustainable development, we also develop in collaboration with the Commission on Higher Education. Now, the Philippine MOOCs during the COVID-19 pandemic also became useful in terms of providing rapid, massive, open training programs for teachers and school university officials to enable them to transition to remote learning in the Philippine context. So what is the model that we used here? Using MOOCs. So we have webinar sessions, but of course, during the time of pandemic, we have so many webinar sessions aimed to really enable or help the various sectors face the various challenges brought about by the pandemic. So what we did, so that we can really ensure learning in the whole process of the capability building program, we have this model on webinar. And after the webinar, we bring the participants to the learning management system of MOOCs. So they will participate in the MOOCs, perform the different learning activities. And in most cases, for the certification programs that we offer, we also require the learners to develop and implement re-entry action projects. So these are some of those MOOCs that we offer during the time of pandemic, mostly targeting the teachers. So we have this training programs for the teachers, again, in collaboration with the Commission on Higher Education. We also have this Reflex, wherein these MOOCs were developed in partnership with the different higher education institutions. So they requested for training programs. So in addition to the webinar sessions, there are also MOOCs, which our agreement with them is this MOOC should be licensed as under the Creative Commons framework. As early as March 2020, even before the lockdown, we already started offering these MOOCs. Because we somehow had projected that the only possible way by which we can conduct the training programs during the time of pandemic is through online and make them inclusive through MOOCs. So immediately, as early as March, even before the lockdown was imposed in many areas of the country, we already have this quick guide on how to convert your courses online, because at the time when the lockdown was imposed, we were towards the end of the semester, towards the end of the school year. We have to continue the school year, we have to finish the semester. So what we did at that time was to immediately develop MOOCs, webinar plus MOOCs on the following topic: assessment in online teaching, designing learning for online instruction, because the time that was the only mode that is possible, so that we can complete the school year and the semester. So we even have a set of MOOCs for the university officials that will help them in their strategic planning for remote learning. So what are the challenges and the actions that we did or we've been doing to address these challenges? Of course, we know that digital divide exclusion to access MOOCs is a major concern, not only in the Philippines, but also in other countries. So what we are doing here is that we partner with this agency, with the government agency, Department of Information Communication Technology, so that we can make use of their facilities, the community e-centers, so that the community can have access to the internet and, of course, to the massive open online courses. We also have the challenge of the lingering perception about the quality of online learning. So in here, since we already have a QA framework for MOOCs, we have to talk about it. We have to promote it. We have to inform people that that there is already a framework wherein we can ensure the quality of the MOOCs that we offer. We also need to position MOOCs as an inclusive training, lifelong learning opportunities, which is usually in the context of a face-to-face training program that many organizations, many institutions offer or make available. But this is the alternative or an option wherein we can provide that inclusive lifelong training opportunities for everyone who is interested. And still, there is the lukewarm reception on that idea that MOOCs can be credited towards a degree Hopefully, this is changing because of what we have experienced during the pandemic. And hopefully, corporations, companies will also recognize learning through MOOCs as additional credentials for employment. So what we are advocating here is for there to be institutional and national policies on MOOCs, especially on recognizing the learning that happened through MOOCs. We have to continue the advocacy and promotion, information dissemination about MOOCs, and of course, I have mentioned this, the QA framework for MOOCs and assessment-driven certification attached to the massive open online courses. So what are our plans? What we are really thinking, and this is beyond impact ranking, and we know that now we have this university impact ranking, wherein via activities, the initiatives, the accomplishments of a university or an academic institution is along the line, or the contribution towards the achievement of SDGs is also measured. But beyond that, we also look at this initiative, the MOOC's contribution to help achieve SDGs as part of our university social responsibility. And because of that, we plan to develop more MOOCs that will directly address a specific SDG, not only SDG number 4, but all the other SDGs as well. The learning outcome will be guided by the set of indicators for the SDG. We also would like to continue harnessing partnership to mobilize resources to develop MOOCs. In here, we have experienced harnessing the CSR budget of the different companies so that we can have resources that will help us develop the massive open online courses specific to the SDGs. Continue to release MOOCs as under the Creative Commons license, release them as OERs so that they can also be used by others who are interested to use the content. And integrate the basic features of the universal design for learning to make MOOCs more accessible or inclusive to all types of lifelong learners. Through these various initiatives and plans that we hope to pursue immediately, then we are hoping that we can continue to contribute to the achievement of SDGs through the massive open online courses. So with that, thank you very much for listening, and I wish everyone happy learning in this conference, in this Asem Stakeholders Forum 2021. I wish everyone a good day. Let's all stay safe. Thank you very much.
Yes, and I hope that the Chancellor will always stay safe and likewise have a happy learning session. We learned about the role of MOOC as social contributor and the role for achieving SDGs. To spread MOOC in Southeast Asia, you also pointed on the partnership and how MOOC was used to overcome COVID-19. And we also heard that this was a way to motivate the learners for further education. And we also heard about the ways to seek comprehensive learning and stronger linkage to existing training and education, as well as policy development, which will require more efforts through partnership. Thank you very much for the presentation once again. And now we are ready for the final presentation of this session by Ms. Leah Belsky, Chief Enterprise Officer of Coursera. The topic is Preparing for the Fourth Industrial Revolution, the Rise of Digital Skills. Here is the video.
Hello, everyone, and good morning. My name is Leah Belsky, and I am the Chief Enterprise Officer of the global online learning platform Coursera. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really honored to be here. We are living in times of double disruption. Automation and COVID-19 have fundamentally changed the employment landscape. And today, I'm going to talk about how these forces have accelerated the fourth industrial revolution in South Korea and around the world, and how institutions are aligning their efforts to prepare workers across the country for the digital economy. Here's a Wall Street Journal article from last year. And what it emphasizes is that the COVID economy has carved a deep, deep divide between have and have-nots. So much of the coverage on the news talks about death and injury and suffering and loneliness, but I would say this is the theme that we wrestle with the most at Coursera. The deep wedge and the deep sources of inequality that COVID has created. And why is that? Well, even before COVID started, the global workforce and the skills required to be part of that workforce was changing as a result of technology and automation. What COVID did is it accelerated this trend toward automation, and that's the double disruption. So what does it mean in practice? Well, the World Economic Forum latest Future of Jobs report pointed to irreversible trends in the overall skills landscape. Specifically, over 85 million jobs are expected to be displaced globally by 2025. 40% of the core skills that workers need to be successful at work will also change. A huge percentage of the workforce is going to be operating remotely, and 84% of employers expect that there will be an acceleration of digitization of work. Interestingly, these stats are no different in South Korea. So we recently were looking deeply at the Korean economy. We see that the economic participation rate has fallen to 63%. The number of people who are working less than 36 hours has risen to 65%. Really, think about 65% increase in the number of people who are working what's now less than full time. And over 22% of young people, people between 15 to 29, are now underemployed or underemployed. These trends were all accelerated by the pandemic, but nearly 2 years later, they are continuing to have a lasting impact. Yet, while COVID-19 is a human tragedy, we also see a huge opportunity. This quote by Antonio Gutierrez is one that we show regularly at Coursera, and it inspires both me and our teams. And it says, COVID-19 is a human tragedy, but it's also created a generational opportunity and an opportunity to build back a more equal and sustainable world. And so that's what I really want to focus on today, how it is that we can use education and training to help build back a world, a future new normal that is better and more equal and creates more opportunity for more people to live their fullest lives. It starts by understanding how the job landscape is changing. So let's start here. The World Economic Forum recently put out a report identifying the fastest growing jobs. And you can see on the left, the fastest growing jobs categories. There are things like data analysts and scientists, AI and machine learning specialists, big data specialists. And on the right, you can see that Microsoft also estimates that the digital job capacity will grow from 51 million in 2021 to over 190 million by 2025. And so the big takeaway here is that the future of employment is digital. Digital jobs are in the future. So if you're trying to think about how to reskill your workforce so that they will be able to work in a productive way and be fully employed, we need to think about how to get employees digital skills. The interesting thing is that we're all now focused on what the future shape of work will be. And it turns out that the digital jobs are also the jobs that can work from home. They're the ones that allow one to earn the highest income, and they're most flexible. And I think particularly for women and particularly for people who are needing to balance many different parts of life and potentially have a more flexible work life, there's an opportunity for the people who are both working from home, earning high incomes, to live more flexible lives as well. And so the real question is, how do we get people into digital jobs? And how do we create a world where we build on both the challenges and opportunities of COVID-19 to ensure that the future workforce is more diverse, more digitally enabled, and more flexible to allow many different types of people to work and be prosperous? So let me start by introducing you to Coursera and telling you a little bit about how we think about this challenge at Coursera. So Coursera is a learning ecosystem, and we see it as one of the primary platforms where people can go to learn digital skills. It's an ecosystem made up of three parts: of educators, of learners, and institutions. And here's how our ecosystem works. There's over 175 universities and over 75 companies, people like Google and IBM and Cisco, who come to Coursera and create learning products. They create courses, they create certificate programs, they create online degrees. These learning products attract over 92 million learners from all over the world. We also have over 65 institutions that then use Coursera and both the insights gathered from the learners as well as the learning products to reskill their employees, their citizens, and their students. And so what this means is that Coursera is uniquely positioned in this ecosystem to understand what trends are emerging, what are the latest skills that people are focusing on, and then to share these insights with our institutional partners, with our educators, and with our future students coming to learn up and skill up for jobs. So who are the learners that come to Coursera to gain these essential skills for their jobs? Well, we've seen the highest growth rates over the past year in emerging markets, including APAC and India. And we're also seeing that in Korea in particular, there's over 540,000 learners. That's a 25% year-over-year growth rate. You'd be delighted to know that in 2021, Coursera's First Step Korean course from Yonsei University was actually the 4th most popular course among our learners worldwide. You'll also see that the median age learner in South Korea is 31. 37% of our learners are women, and 35% come and learn on their mobile devices. Now, in fact, in a time when the labor market is becoming even more digital, we're delighted to see that more women are learning online overall. So one of the most remarkable trends that we saw during COVID is, despite the ongoing press about how COVID had a disproportionate impact on women who are dropping out of the workforce, having to care for their families in ways that they hadn't before, during that same time, we saw that the overall percentage of Coursera enrollments from women increased, both globally, and also you can see it's increased in South Korea as well. And so I think that's a really inspiring stat that can give us a sense of where the workforce and who's going to be part of the workforce in the future. The other thing we see is that similarly, the share of STEM learners, of people enrolled in science, technology, engineering, and math, those women also were more enrolled in STEM. In South Korea, you can see that 29% of STEM learners were women in 2020, and in 2021, that increased to 30%. And so I think this is really exciting because STEM-based learning is often the foundation for digital jobs. And to see more women learning online and more women studying science and technology during the pandemic presents a tremendous omen for the future. So what is it that everyone is coming to learn online, and why is it that we think that online learning can provide a tremendous path to entry-level digital jobs? Well, let me explain to you how a learner's life might evolve through learning at Coursera. It starts with what we call entry-level professional certificates. So one of the most popular certificates on the platform is what we call the Google IT Support Certificate. Learners with no college degree or background in a field can come to Coursera to earn a professional certificate. We've seen that over 500,000 learners have enrolled in this professional certificate. 59% do not have a four-year college degree. Over half identify as Black, Latino, female, or veteran. And almost 50% report earning less than $30,000 in annual income, which in the US puts you in a very low skilled income bracket. Now, these learners might not otherwise had an opportunity to learn. They might not have the resources to go to a full-time bachelor's degree or to go to a campus. But what we do is we also partner with other institutional partners. So out of this one certificate program, which can take 3 to 6 months, we have career partners, hiring partners, people such as Intel and Walmart and HR Block, who have offered to interview and potentially hire the graduates of these programs. In addition, we partner with universities to create what we call degree pathways. So those who take the Google IT Support Certificate and do want to continue to potentially earn a full-time degree can apply the learning and credits that they've developed to degrees in computer science at a place like University of London. And so what's powerful here in this overall model is that you see that now someone who might not have otherwise had a chance to get a bachelor's degree or a master's degree earlier in the year has no experience in tech, now has multiple ways in which they, through online learning, can get themselves into a new job category that is digital, that pays more, and create a pathway to future learning. And we want to replicate that. So we're going to be broadening and creating more opportunity for people to take professional certificates in digital careers like IT by growing our catalog of entry-level professional certificates. We now have 15, and we're going to be adding many, many more next year. And so I'm really excited about how these programs in particular can teach in-demand skills for learners worldwide who had no experience in digital jobs to then get into higher skilled jobs. So there's also broad agreement that institutions must play a central role in educating the world. I've been talking to you about learners who come individually to our global Coursera website, but we're also seeing education and reskilling is not something that can happen just through consumers and independent companies. True institutional reskilling and upskilling requires partnerships between governments, between universities, between independent companies to tackle the broader challenge of unemployment at scale. And so today I'm also excited to share that Coursera has partnered with K-MOOC and the National Institute for Lifelong Education to launch a nationwide upskilling program. The initiative will help over 200,000 adult learners develop the high demand skills they need to advance their education and careers in the new economy. And with access to over 50 job relevant Korean language courses, learners across the country can prepare for the rapidly changing skills and employment landscape. The initiative is supported by the Ministry of Education, and it's going to aim to equip students, graduates, educators, both in primary and secondary academic institutions, as well as mid and late career professionals with the professional and digital skills needed to participate in the fourth industrial revolution. We launched the enterprise business at Coursera about 6 years ago, and the enterprise business is the part of our business that takes Coursera and partners with other countries and institutions to scale our work. And I would say this partnership that I'm describing here was part of the original dream, that one day we could take Coursera, find a major government partner in another key country, and really just scale the platform to another job and another learning ecosystem. So I'm thrilled to see this partnership come to fruition and to have many, many more Korean learners on the platform. So as you can see, leading institutions on Coursera are moving from ideas to action and delivering impact at an unprecedented speed and scale. Together, we're providing greater access to world-class learning and a more equal opportunity for all. Together, I truly think we are moving humanity forward and moving one step in the right direction of creating a more equitable world for everyone to live in. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your kind words. Ms. Leah Belsky, that was Chief Enterprise Officer of Coursera. Ms. Belsky mentioned that in the digital economy and COVID-19 are presenting double challenges to all workers around the world through online learning, both supporting the learners and their entry into the digital labor market was being supported. So that is the end of all presentations for session A. We heard 4 presentations. Professor Kwon Hyuk-ju for the first presentation mentioned the SDG 4.3, high, decent education that is affordable, and 4.4, and how MOOC contributes to those goals, and also the digital divide and other remaining tasks. The second presenter, Dr. Jung Woo-tak, mentioned how APSEU's education for global citizenship is done through MOOC. And from the Philippine example, we heard about the MOOC contribution as a social factor, and through international cooperation through organizations, how we can spread MOOC. And finally, Ms. Belsky shared with us the Coursera's example of how COVID-19 is detrimentally impacting laborers around the world, and for those who have difficulty entering into the labor market, how MOOC and Coursera can help such workers. So as for questions for each of the presentations, we will continue continue on in the final discussion session. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We will start session B of this forum. We will address the topic cases of MOOC utilization to achieve SDGs 4 and 17. We will share Korea's example of utilizing MOOC, and all presenters, 4 presenters, are joining us on site for session B. We will have 15-minute presentations each, and after all the presentations are done, we will move on to the debate session where we'll take questions about the presentation. The first presentation, COVID-19 Cannot Stop SDG 4, will be presented by former Vice President Baek Soo-ki of KOICA. Please welcome Dr. Baek with a warm hand.
Okay, thank you for your introduction. Today, I'm very delighted to share KOICA's approach to achieve SDG 4 in context of COVID-19 pandemic. Today's presentation title is COVID-19 Cannot Stop SDG 4. Content will be background and KOICA's interventions to achieve SDG 4 and conclusions. Everybody has recognized the climate change issues for a long time, and the world agreed the Paris Agreement to reduce carbon dioxide and lower global temperature. In 2016, the first industrial Yeah. Doesn't work. Yes. First industrial revolution was introduced at the World Economic Forum, and it has been brought a lot of changes in our daily life. While all global people are trying to lower the temperature and developing the world by using first industrial revolution, we faced COVID-19 pandemic. As we recognize, COVID-19 widens gap between developed and developing countries in every aspect, such as quarantine, education, health, nutrition, and etc. In these circumstances, KOICA took prompt measures to address challenges posed by COVID-19. Today, I will look into the measures related to SDG 4. Like other international development agencies, KOICA pursues to achieve the SDGs. And the 17 goals of SDGs are reflected on KOICA's management strategy. Today, I just reviewed the first strategy, which is deeply related to SDG among 4 strategies. The strategy is accelerating the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals. Under this strategy objective 1.1 is reducing poverty and improving the quality of life in partner countries. Under the objective performance goal 1.1.2 is improving the education system and expanding the participation of education subject. As you know, education played a key role in the process of development of Korea. In this region, education has always been the priority sector for KOICA during the last 3 decades. Let's see KOICA's performance on education. In 2018, education accounted for 24% and followed by health, which accounted for 17%. As we have been experiencing since outbreak of COVID-19, education is the most vulnerable sector under the pandemic, especially in our poorer countries. In fear of infection, the schools were closed and there was no enough infrastructure and facilities to continue their studies. In December 2019, we heard a new virus was found in China. At first, most of the people did not anticipate that this virus became pandemic or a long-time headache for all 79 billion global citizens. And what can we do now as a KOICA? KOICA established its Security Management Center in 2018 to secure safety of all staff members, professionals, volunteers, and development actors in overseas. Although KOICA has a Security Management Center, at first was also embarrassed with the unexpected situation of COVID-19. To address the pandemic, KOICA organized a task force team and all staff members discussed how to handle the pandemic issues. Through the discussions, we derived the countermeasures to conduct all KOICA activities smoothly. Today's main presentation is fellowship program, e-volunteering, volunteers training program, and education for international development cooperation via K-MOOC. As the first one is fellowship training program. As a KOICA invites about 5,000 people from around 8 countries across the continent annually. They participated in 250 courses and around 150 training organizations are involved in the program. The brand of fellowship program is SIAT, which stands for Capacity Improvement and Advancement for Tomorrow. SIAT means a seed in Korean. Fellowship programs are usually conducted from March to November. However, we could not invite participants from the partner countries due to lockdown and fear for spread of infection. To overcome challenges of a pandemic, KOICA prepared to change the program from face-to-face to online. From March 2020 to November 2021, the Staff Capacity Enhancement Department of KOICA did their best to operate the fellowship program smoothly under the pandemic. From March to June of 2020, the staff members prepared the transition of a training program. In June 2020, the pilot program was implemented successfully. In July 2020, a video conference on experience sharing was held for training organizations. And last year, at the outbreak of COVID-19, KOICA recognized the establishment of online training platform and discussed it with the concerned ministry, Foreign Affairs and Economy and Finance. They all agreed the platform and allocated $800,000 for the platform. Finally, online training platform SIAT-ON was open on last month in November. And to implement the pilot online training program, there are lots of things to prepare. From March to May, under the principle of demand and survey, we surveyed the partner countries' demand and recruited a pilot training organization which is capable of implementing a novel format of online training. In the meantime, department changed the program guideline which is suitable for online training. To find a suitable partner country to participate in the online training program, I discussed with the KOICA Cambodia office by utilizing my working experiences in Cambodia as a country director. I thought Cambodia has a quite good enough infrastructure to conduct online training. In June, Seoul Cyber University conducted a pilot online training program for capacity building of peace building and global citizenship education in Cambodia. Seoul Cyber University prepared the pilot online training program professionally. 15 Cambodian government officials and NGO staff participated in the course. Seoul Cyber University did a wonderful job. They did everything in online which was implemented in face-to-face, such as opening ceremony, closing ceremony, group discussions, and even preparations of action plans. Right side photo shows enthusiastic participation in training program. They got together during weekends to prepare action plans, and we were impressed with Cambodia's passion. And after the training, after the training, they did post-training evaluation voluntarily. I'd like to skip this slide. So we have a experience sharing program with other training organizations. And I'd like to introduce just the mention of the CIAT-ON program. The main functions of the program as LMS is learning mindset is easily accessible in partner countries in consideration of digital infrastructure. The platform can be accessible in web and mobile, and interface is provided by multi-language. Intercommunication is open all users such as lecturers, participants, etc. And expected users are around 10,000 people because this platform is open to Korean ministries, affiliated organizations, and training organizations which offer training courses for overseas participants. And CIAT-ON online training platform is well operated and used by the participants and training organizations. And I'd like to share the unexpected outcome. We pursue and otherwise pursue the gender mainstream in all aspects. However, it's not easy for working mom to go on overseas business trip. Thanks to online training program, Filipino working mom could join the training program. And she hoped that Quaker offer online training programs after the end of the pandemic, considering who cannot join the program due to personal reasons. And I'll also skip this slide. And this is the e-volunteering. When we faced the outbreak of COVID-19, the most urgent concern was whether to evacuate volunteers or not. Evacuate when? According to the COVID-19 development, KOICA evacuated 1,457 volunteers from 42 countries to secure their safety. Decision-making for evacuation was made in short time, so KOICA could not prepare measures for beneficiaries of volunteers. Students could not continue their studies in university due to absence of faculty members. For the time being, KOICA could not decide the direction of volunteers program. Can volunteers can be redispatched when does the pandemic end? And this time, KOICA tried another trial, e-volunteering, like a training program. She surveyed the demand and supply. Faculty of some Korean department of partner country was consisted of all volunteers. However, after the volunteers' evacuation, students could not continue their studies. I well known the situation of Minje University in Cambodia, so I discussed this issue with the volunteers and KOICA Cambodia office. Let's cooperate together to help students to continue their studies. Thanks to volunteers' passion to teach their students, e-volunteering was launched. At first, they accommodate together to learn the use of online system and prepare online teaching materials. A pilot training online teaching class was conducted successfully. And let's see performance of e-volunteering. E-volunteering for Minje University in Cambodia continued until last month, almost 2 years. If there is no e-volunteering, the students could not continue their studies. Taking this opportunity, I'd like to express my thanks to all volunteers who joined the e-volunteering program. It was very challenging. E-volunteering continued in other sectors. One of the volunteers in physical education did a great job. She commanded the Thai language fluently, and she also put the subtitle in the video for the better understanding of the students. And before the COVID-19 volunteer training program prior to dispatch to partner countries was conducted in face-to-face. However, after the pandemic, KOICA transited way of training online. And last one is education for international development cooperation by K-MOOC. KOICA established ODA Education Center in 2010 to enhance the awareness of the development cooperation and cultivation of global citizenship in Korea. And KMOOC uploaded the first free international development courses in 2019. And the first one is fundamental course on international development cooperation. It is very popular among people, so this course was designated as the most popular course in 2019. So another course is understanding of cross-cutting issues on international development cooperation. And the four new courses are under review by National Institute for Lifelong Education. And this is the last slide. So KMOOC has contributed to achieving the SDG4 by transit training and education method from face-to-face to online in context of COVID-19 pandemic. To achieve the SDG4 and reduce inequality in education in context of COVID-19 pandemic, I propose 4 suggestions. First, continuously develop online training program in consideration of participants who cannot join face-to-face training program in Korea. Second, thanks to online education, all lectures are recorded and lectures are regarded as public goods, so it will be worth considering whether to open to global citizens. It will increase global social values. Third, consider developing and introducing a flipped learning for KMOOC capacity training program. If this learning is introduced, participants can focus on discussions on how to apply Korean experience to their own country in consideration of a present different situation when they visit Korea. Last, considering provide more courses on international development cooperation for Korean citizens to improve awareness on ODA and international cooperation, international development cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your excellent presentation. So the Miss back, she talked about how KMOOC continued to make contribution to SDG despite COVID-19. So she talked about the SIAT and also the K-MOOC and international educational cooperation projects. And also she mentioned that the lectures and the online courses should be considered as public goods and flipped learnings must be adopted. And also we have to provide more courses for Korean citizens to enhance the importance of international development cooperation.
Moving on to the next presentation. Seoul National University Global Education Cooperation Program's MOOC's Initiative for Better Education for All will be presented by Professor Yu Sung-sang of the Global Education Cooperation Faculty of SNU from the College of Education of SNU. Please welcome Professor Yu with a big hand. As introduced, I am Yu Sung-sang from the College of Education of SNU. I am also the chair professor of the Global Education Cooperation faculty. As a cooperation course, I would like to present the interdisciplinary program of Global Education Cooperation at SNU and also look at our K-MOOC courses of how it can be used to spread and broaden communication. K-MOOC or MOOC related aspects have been addressed in part 1, and in this session we are thinking about how to utilize MOOC models, but my presentation combines the two sides. First of all, along with students, I myself is studying the interdisciplinary courses of Global Education Cooperation. I will look at the content and the form and what the focus is and the future plan for the program. First of all, as for the GEC or Global Education Cooperation, this is the first of its kind in Korea. Over the past 10 years, we have gathered and developed a pool of experts in different development and global education areas. And this is a undergraduate or graduate course. So by cooperation course, it means different disciplines can be combined together and work together in the program. In 2015, when SDG was first announced, our faculty was launched to develop a pool of researchers to contribute to the achievement of SDGs and to also foster field experts. So I am the chair of the faculty, and we have the steering committee, and also we have professors from different fields, not only from the College of Education, but environmental studies, public health, international studies, and social sciences are some of the fields where professors have come together for this program. We have 11 professors from the College of Education and 7 from non-College of Education fields. As for students, we have about 50 students currently. We have produced about 70 master's and PhD holders. There are about 5 overseas students who went back to their countries or are active in the relevant field. This is the list of our activities. There are many more, but these are some of the notable fields. First of all, we have research project reviews in the field of international education and development cooperation. And there are internships in the field of development cooperation. And from a mid to long-term perspective, we engage in exchange and cooperation programs at overseas partner universities to develop students with the sense of the practical skills and the expertise. And we promote academic and cooperation activities with the administrative team and the student council, and we promote exchange and cooperation based on MOUs with relevant organizations, and we support and participate in development cooperation activities and research projects. So we not only hone the expertise of our students in the field of cooperation and global education cooperation, but we also engage in MOUs with other organizations and to build a network from China, Japan, African countries, and Latin American countries, as well as key universities in advanced nations that have similar courses. The researchers, activists, experts exchange with us. And some of the notable examples would be an ICESCO in Morocco, understanding the education, culture, and science of Islamic cultures. So we are proceeding with an MOU with that organization, and once signed, we will be dispatching our students. And the chair professor program will be launched in cooperation with SNU. I think that the GEC program has unlimited potential because of the possibility of education to bring together different fields. So this very characteristic of this area of research allows us to combine different disciplines for broader cooperation. So GEC is not just a graduate school program at one university, but the discussions that are taking place today can also continue on at our school for further future cooperation. And above all, even if you do not use the word education to describe your work, we can combine different areas of expertise and professions as a bridge. So, of course, education is a hot topic at all times in Korea. And within the development cooperation area, I think it is the same. And so I think that the GEC program can play the role of a bridge and also develop a pool of experts and provide opportunities to research the area. This is why I am heading this program and participating in it and building it up. The second part is about the K-MOOC course that our program proposed. It is called the GECD, or Global Education Cooperation and Development. So we will look at what the K-MOOC course structure is and what it is about, to tell you what our expectations are and what our future plan for the programs is. The reason why GECD program is needed is that education in Korea is a big area, and there are many people working in the field of education. But as for what is discussed in our program, is not very widely known, and this is quite an unfamiliar area for Korea. So even if we are very active and we do a lot of work, as for the methodology and content of how to proceed with the program is not sufficient. And the offline classroom-based courses are very limited. So K-MOOC is about using a MOOC program to develop a standardized course that is shared and that can be disseminated. So we had to think of a way to develop a MOOC course for GEDC, and that is why we came to develop a K-MOOC course. There is a goal for the K-MOOC course. The slide lays out 4 different goals. First of all, we wanted to introduce the field of international development cooperation and sort out and share what the latest discussions are. And SDG 4 is really the key point for this very forum today. And SDG 4, in fact, includes many different areas, and in particular, teacher education, elementary and secondary education, and vocational training. So we wanted to focus on these areas and look at how we can practice the GEDC and what the key issues are, and how we can plan out a better course for these areas. So that would be the main content of the K-MOOC program that we are proposing. And these 4 subjects are what we present for the course. And why? Because Niall, the host of this forum, has the basic 4 course unit as a basic unit for K-MOOC. And all 4 courses have to be developed into a curriculum. So the courses include these 4 elements. First, the concept, the basic concept, discussing the theories and how the theories and practices are formed, what the key issues are, and what are the actual cases. So the topic of these courses and the contents need to be unified into a single topic, and these 4 independent courses are interrelated. So we start with the level 1 introductory level to cover the very basic level of application in a slightly more advanced content. So I will go into the different 4 levels. So the introduction level will cover the education, development, and cooperation. And then in the basic level, we discuss the SDG 4, the 7 targets, and the 3 approaches. And in level 3, application, we look at how GEDC projects presented by NGOs in different nations are implemented, and we look at the effect of those projects. And finally, in level 4, we go into a deep dive to look at specific theories, and rather than sticking to very specific organizations, or countries, we look at a very global discourse taking place from the perspective of different organizations. So I cannot go into all the details here, but each course consists of 13 lectures, and each session, as I described earlier, includes all four elements I described earlier: the concept, theory and practice, issues, and actual cases of how the GEDC was practiced. So the first part is introduction, next is basic, which covers SDG 4, and then the application stage, where actual cases are presented from different countries and organizations. And finally, in the advanced stage, major donors for the international education development are presented, and how they look at this field is also discussed. So as for the impact, we believe that this K-MOOC GEDC course can ultimately, and this will be the final slide, achieve these goals. So through K-MOOC GEDC courses, we want to aim at not only introducing the global education and development and cooperation and sharing what the concept is about, but we want to look at different development and cooperation, and different elements are at play. So for development and cooperation to be effective, we cannot rule out education. So going beyond this being accepted as an educational concept, I think that GEDC can become a very important point that glues together the different elements that makes development and cooperation a success. So through this K-MOOC program, and in the process of spreading the program, above all, achieving SDG 4, and that leading to a higher, better quality and more effective achievement of all the SDGs is the ultimate goal for GEDC, and I believe that GEDC will become a very important area in doing that. So not only in development and cooperation, but Korean and English are very fluently spoken by all the participants, so I think that this area will become even more important and widespread. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Professor Yu, for the presentation. Another big round of applause, please. Yes, for effective development and cooperation, you talked about how the importance of education as a medium and a glue. Through K-MOOC, we want to achieve SDG and GEDC program at SNU that brings together different disciplines and fields. I think that this academic approach can help us achieve SDGs and take us one step closer to achieving the SDGs.
Following that, the Lee Ji-hong, Director of ASPEO, will give us the presentation on the UNESCO ASPEO Open Education Resources for SDG 4, the case of Global Citizenship Education Online Campus.
Hello everyone, my name is Ji-hong Lee. I'm the Head of Office of Education and Training at ASPEO. So I believe that you already had another presentation by Dr. Chung Woo-tak, who has given you the presentation on ASPEO, so you might know who we are. So I will not really go over who we are. Rather, I'll be talking about our e-learning platform, which is GCED Online Campus, and our e-learning courses on global citizenship education. So I do hope that you would get to know what GCED is. So GCED is Global Citizenship Education. So in short, we just call it GCED. So it's my great honor to introduce our e-learning platform, which is GCED Online Campus. So yeah, this is the things that I'll be talking about today. So first, I briefly tell you about GCED Online Campus, and after that, I'll be telling you the e-learning courses that we have on global citizenship education. And after that, I think this is one of the main features of our e-learning courses, which is the learning community. And lastly, I'll be briefly talk about how we contribute to the achievement of the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. So our GSED online campus, which is our e-learning platform on global citizenship education, was launched in the year of 2016. So it's not very long. So it's been around like 5 years now. So we have developed our platform in that year, and then ever since that, we have launched different courses on global citizenship education, including the GSED 101, which is Introduction to GSED, so where anybody can learn about global citizenship education from the very beginning. So, and together with that, we do also have developed some advanced courses on GSED, and together with that, the special lecture series by the international experts on GSED. And also, we've been trying to expand our partnerships with different partner institutions and expert groups in different parts of the world. So by doing that, we've been trying to diversify our courses so that we could provide more tailored and customized courses for different learners. And also, currently, in this year, we have run about 21 courses on global citizenship education, which are available to everyone. And currently, we have around 54,000 learners enrolled who are coming from all different worlds. So yes, so as I have mentioned before, we have very specific target groups who are the educators, and of course we include the general public and also students as well. However, we're trying to focus on the educators who would like to learn about global citizenship education. So over the past 20 years, we've been providing different capacity building programs for educators in the Asia Pacific region and beyond. And even though we wanted to provide these training programs to all educators who want to learn, but it was limited, so we were not really able to provide all these courses for everyone. So since we have recognized the increasing needs from the educators from all around the world who would like to learn about SDGs and global citizenship education, so that's why we have launched this online campus, so that people who ever want to learn about GSED, they can come and learn for free and anytime they want. So yes, though we are targeting these educators, as I mentioned before, we include everyone, so whoever wants to learn, they can just come and learn. So the main contents are the global citizenship education. So we do have some open courses so that people can come and learn when they want. And also we do have some courses by registrations, which meaning that it's run by these as the closed courses. So we have a specific batches and cohort with the instructors. And also we do have these introductory basic courses together with these advanced courses and also special lecture series so that people can just learn and buy these experts. I forgot, yes. And this is the types of the courses that we provide. So the first one is the self-paced courses. I think it's quite common in other e-learning platforms as well. So it's MOOC type courses, so people can come and just learn about these basics of GSED. And we do also have these instructor-led courses. So it deals with more like in-depth courses and thematic areas of global citizenship education or specific pedagogical approaches. So it is expected for our participants in these instructor-led courses to fully participate in the course. So it's very tightly managed in a way. And we do have these blended courses as well. So the course itself is run by the MOOC type, but we regularly hold these live sessions with the instructors and facilitators. People can come and meet their co-learners and their instructors as well. And also we have these pre-training courses. Since we do have these intensive training programs on global citizenship education, we would like to train them before actually they take part in our training programs. So they study before they come and join these training programs through these pre-training courses. So we just call it pre-workshop study and like that. And also we do have these tailored courses for small groups. This year we have launched courses for Mongolian educators. So the course was done in Mongolian language. So, and also the last year we have developed with the UNESCO Beirut office. So we have developed these Arabic courses for the educators in the region. So like that, we are trying to work with our partners so that we can provide more tailored courses for the specific target groups. So this is the list of the courses that we have on our online campus. So this is the list of open courses, so which is available to everyone. So as you could see here, we deal with different thematic areas, including Of course, we do have these SDGs basic courses and GSET 101 course, and also the MIA courses, Media Information Literacy, which has been very, very important, particularly in this pandemic area. And then we have some pedagogical approaches and gender issues. And as you could see here, these two courses have been co-developed by the partner institution, which is Ban Ki-moon Center for Global Citizens. And these are the instructor-led and advanced courses. So we have a lot of facilitators, instructors, and experts in these groups. So there are some interesting courses and target-specific courses for youth learners. For example, we had this film as a tool for advocacy on GSET, which has been targeted for youth leaders around the world. And also we had these courses on GSET pedagogy and practice, which was co-developed by the PNU, the Philippine Norman University, which is one of our very important partners. So it was specifically provided for educators and teachers in the Philippines. And the other courses were, and the other one was from trainer to designer. That was specifically for the teacher educators who would like to learn how to design these GSET training programs. And yeah, I would like to make some emphasis on this very special feature of our training programs, e-learning programs. We highly value these learning communities because we believe that there are so many good e-learning courses out there, so you can just learn all these very good courses by these very renowned speakers in other platforms as well. But then, why GSET Online Campus? So we focus to create some very special learning communities through these e-learning courses. So we have around these faculty members, 23 faculty members currently, and then we have around more than 100 international speakers are with us. And with that, as I mentioned before, we have around 54,000 users are enrolled in these courses. And as you could see on the screen, they are from 119 countries. So literally, they're coming from everywhere. So it's a very good opportunity for them to meet their co-learners from all different countries. So it's very, very important. It's very good opportunity for them to learn from the other co-learners, not only from the instructors or from the contents, but at the same time, by creating these learning communities, they can interact with the educators from very different settings, very different cultures. So we believe that it's very important for them to have this kind of learning experiences. And we have analyzed the positions and the works they do. So it's very diverse, as you can see on the screen. And some are curriculum developers, and some are school teachers, some are legal officers even, or practitioners, youth advocates. It's quite diverse, though they're commonly in the field of education. So we wanted to let them interact one another, as I mentioned before, so that they can, enhance their learning by learning from one another. And also, this is part of, I just captured some WhatsApp groups because we do run these WhatsApp groups with our learners in their e-learning courses, with the instructors in many cases, so that they could really feel that they belong to these learning communities, they are part of these learning communities, so that they could build up some meaningful partnership and relationship among these learners and with the instructors. So meaning that there are quite tight management and supervision, so it means a lot of work from the staff side, but we highly value that it's really important, so that's why we're doing it. So we're trying to create this meaningful learning communities with the learners. So as a result, we were able to see the quite high completion rate on average. As you could see, we have only listed some it's instructor-led courses only. So one course, the highest score was the 85%, meaning that out of 50 participants, we have around 40 people, they have completed this course. It's a 6 weeks program. It's quite intensive. They have to come on the designated time and they have to do their assignments, but they were willing to do it because they were able to feel that they were being valued in the courses. They feel that they are the member, very important member of this learning community. So yeah, this is how we do. And this will be the last part. So I would briefly tell you how we are trying to contribute to the SDGs. So I just put this 4 E's. So one is, of course, expanding knowledge. As you know very well, the global citizenship education is very important part of this SDG 4.7. So it's directly mentioned in the course, but we don't really think that our courses are only contributing SDG 4 or 4.7. Rather, as you could see on the previous slides, we are dealing with many different topics and different issues which are covered by very diverse SDGs. So we're dealing with this gender equality issues, poverty issues, sustainable issues, climate crisis, and peace issues, and partnerships, and overall SDGs. So we believe that by expanding the knowledge and skills of our learners, we are able to contribute to the achievement of these SDGs. Another part is the engaging the global communities. As I mentioned before, we have our learners from very diverse backgrounds, very different countries, and different part of the world, and also our instructors and facilitators. They are from many different countries and different fields. So, and also by having these meaningful learning communities, they are able to learn from one another and learn about these actual issues happening in different parts of the world, and also by being included in this community, they are able to feel that these issues are really their own issues, and also they can just go beyond their own understanding and experiences. So I think we believe that by doing that, we are able to engage them in these global communities. And the next thing is the empowering the educators and youth leaders for change, because we don't really think that the learning ends just there and stays there. Rather, we believe that they have to do something after they learn about these things, right? So we keep encouraging them to take actions after they take these courses, they're learning about these issues. So, by these at first, we believe that they're quite highly motivated to take some actions in their own capacity. So we believe that these courses not only delivers the concepts and knowledge on SDGs, but rather it focuses on empowering learners, our target educators and youth leaders, so that they could become the active global citizens for transformation. And the very last part is that encouraging the further steps. Since many of our participants and learners, they are in different parts of the world, and also they are in different professions, though most of them are in education, we believe that they are able to link their ongoing works they do with the knowledge they gain from these e-learning courses. And that's what we motivate them as well. So we keep inviting them so that they could link these knowledge and the skills they gained from these courses with their actual works, so that they can bring some changes, meaningful changes to their own works. And we believe that by doing that, we could expect some snowballing impact. So yeah, I think this is the end of my presentation, and I hope that you were able to find it useful in some ways. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much, Director Lee, for her excellent presentation. So she talked about the GSED online campus organized by the APSEU, and it mainly targets educators, but it is actually open to everyone. So it has the basic and advanced courses, and she also said that through the education and through the programs, these people could have a sense of belonging to the learning communities. And also they're encouraged to take actual actions for transformation. And also she talked about how the APSEU provides the customized courses fitting the needs of trainees. And she also said that how they promote interactions among learners.
And we are ready for the final presentation of Session B by Professor Bang Yong-hwan of Korean University on NIL K-MOOC Series Course RIDC for International Development. Please welcome Professor Bang with a big hand. Good afternoon. I am from Korean University. My name is Bang Yong-hwan. I would like to first thank the organizers, NIL, for preparing this forum, as well as all speakers and participants and all relevant staff, and also allowing me to share with you my experience of how MOOC has been used at Korean University. In Session B, we heard from KOICA and APSEU, who presented in English, and we heard about the example of the Korean University's K-MOOC, which was presented in Korean, and I would do the same and present in Korean. So I want to share with you a integrated course for K-MOOC. The title is Roadmap for International Development Cooperation, or RIDC. So anyone interested, students interested in international development and cooperation, or teachers or professors, can use the form of MOOC to take courses. So we developed a MOOC model, which is currently in operation. So I want to share with you the background, the process, and what the major outcomes have been. And as I listened to the sessions A and B, I came to realize that Asem Mooc aims to achieve SDGs 4 and 17. 4 is quality education. MOOC is an open online course, so we can use MOOC to achieve quality education and make it more accessible to the world, and that is actually what's happening through MOOC. In particular, through the COVID-19 situation, many countries and in many educational institutions are using online platforms and online contents and combining them with education in many cases. And going forward, the educational environment, I think that will be different from face-to-face centric education before COVID and move more towards a hybrid format of putting together both online and offline education in a more converged format. SDG 17 is global partnership for the international community to achieve the large goals of SDG. Universities, COICA, APSEU, and different partners, such as corporations or Coursera, needs to be brought together under a global partnership. So I think that is actually the spirit of holding this very Asem Mooc Stakeholders Forum today. So let me first start by introducing the course. The goal is to use MOOC or MOOC to help students and professors interested in the field of international development cooperation to take MOOC courses. So in the international development cooperation, there are different sectors: education, public health, public administration, climate change, and more. So you first need your sectoral expertise and the project cycles, the design metrics, and how projects are monitored and evaluated. You need a level of understanding of projects and project cycles. And you also need to have a general knowledge of the global trend at the international organizations such as UN agencies, World Bank, or ADB, and NGOs. So you need a general level of understanding and knowledge of what is happening in the international development cooperation field. And finally, whether you are a student or professor, or if you're just simply interested in this area, you need to have a regional expertise. So these 4 are the core competencies that are required for international development cooperation, or IDC. In Korea, as you have heard from earlier speakers, there's SNU, Ewha Women's University, Kyunghee University that have developing a very great pool of talents in IDC through master's and PhD programs. But what about the regional students or regional people who are interested but do not have access to this quality education? We need to provide them with top quality education through MOOC, and that is why we came to design MOOC. So as explained earlier, experts in an IDC field are defined by Dr. Kim and Dr. John as generalists that have general administrative competency. But specialists need to have policy analysis, development expertise, program planning, and management capabilities. And if you look at the next page, this is the job analysis of IDC professionals. So what kind of regional analysis needs to be done, how you evaluate them, how you manage the project. So you need to take into consideration all these different elements and look at the literatures. And that's what I did to design the MOOC course. And I looked at what kind of experts we want to produce through our course. We looked at the already existing MOOC integrated courses and what kind of students made use of the online programs and what kind of benefits they can expect to get. And I also looked at other nations and other schools in Korea, how they design their courses to develop, produce students experts specializing in global development cooperation. So University of Massachusetts, Boston, and UBC have a short-term course, but prior work experience is essential. Internship and field experience is required for the University of Massachusetts Boston course. But if you look at other examples, and we heard earlier about the SNU example, and I have Seoul Cyber University and Korea Cyber University examples here on the slide. These courses put together multicultural and international development areas together. And then the certificate courses and the cyber university courses, and there are online degree programs offered in other nations. Let's look at what kind of programs and components are included in the courses. For University of Massachusetts Boston or UMB, professional studies, continuing education, are where the courses are offered, and UBC again runs a certificate program, and many experts from different fields take the IDC course to acquire certificate, even if they do not do work on the field. They can raise their level of understanding for each of their field of expertise. So through K-MOOC, I developed our IDC. And the benefit I wanted to offer through this course is that students who enroll in the master's or doctorate program, many of the students who do not understand what is happening on the field, I wanted to share with them what is actually happening on the field with actual cases. And I wanted to invite the professors with the highest prestige in different fields to paint the general picture of IDC from Korea's perspective, and also what it means to evaluate those activities and what kind of activists are out there. So I prepared these courses in English, and some of the partner universities in Cambodia are already using the K-MOOC course. So we have 4 subjects, and these are the general picture. And these subjects are not independent standalone subjects, but they are interrelated. Number 1 and number 3 are correlated. So what we learn from course 1 is connected to course 3, and course 2 and 4 can seamlessly be integrated. What you learn from 2 is actually learned in more in-depth about field examples in course 4. So we were able to derive themes for different subjects with the experts, the professors, ministers or vice ministers, and public officials. We together derived different themes. And for students do not learn everything in one subject. But for example, if a student was interested in education development, that's number 4 under 1. ODA and Global Education Cooperation, and under IDC Project Management Cooperation, there is the COICA example. In number 3, subject number 3, we learn about the World Bank example. So in the subject 4, we look at how the Ministry of Education is looking at IDC. So this is a micro-learning strategy that can be applied alongside the IDC courses. So the student can take all 4 different subjects, but they can also zero in on a particular theme to look at the theory and then look at the field case example and look at the donor's perspective as well as the partner country perspective. So once we've developed the course, we were able to actually bring in additional approaches. So through this program, the students are given a term paper as a course assignment. So through one subject, students can write out what they learned about the area of their interest and submit a term paper, or they can just choose a particular topic for their paper. So this entire process, whether it's a master's course or an undergraduate course, this assignment was to help the students deep dive into their area of interest. And when K-MOOC requires a term paper, of course, as we heard in session A, but from Professor Kwon, of course, the low accomplishment rate is a big challenge for K-MOOC courses. And we are going to look at ways to better motivate students to participate more actively in the K-MOOC courses, together with other professors. Despite COVID, we actually went to Cambodia and met with the field experts in different institutions. We had a lecture and we met with other field experts in Korea as well and professors that together developed the courses. So that was the RIDC example that I have described. So ultimately, at the Asem Mooc Stakeholders Forum today, I wanted to share with you the idea of how MOOC can be used to achieve SDGs, and in particular to compare with SNU's GEC program with the K-MOOC series course at RIDC at my university, both how they can be used to build capacity and how a 24/7 learning environment can be built through very innovative approaches. And to make the MOOC courses more effective and impactful, we can use flipped learning to provide high-quality contents at various universities for the professors who are interested to make use of these contents to develop larger pool of students with great expertise who will be future activists in the field. And that will be all for me. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Professor Pang, for the final presentation. Once again, a big round of applause, please. Yes, Professor Pang discussed how MOOC platform can be used to develop a pool of experts in IDC, and you shared with us the example of our IDC. So that is all for session B. And after a few moments to prepare the stage, we will start right away with the debate session. All session B presenters will be invited to take your seats up front on the stage for the debate. And those of you joining us online, if you have any questions about the presentations, please leave your questions in the Q&A box or chat box so that we can deliver them to the speaker during this debate session. And after the debate, and if time allows, we will take your questions and ask the questions to the speakers. Thank you. And we will start the debate session in a hybrid format, on-site and online. We would have invited the speakers of session B on-site, and we have online participants for this discussion session. We have seen the role of MOOC in international education cooperation to achieve the SDGs. while there is great expectation that MOOC will contribute to providing quality education, there also remains the task of who will create what kind of MOOC contents. And in particular, some of the key nations running MOOC platforms at the national level is the ROK, and there's also France and China that again run the MOOC platforms at the national level. And there are some education companies that, for-profit companies that operate MOOC for profit-making purposes. And that is why we have even greater expectation for the Korean MOOC platform in the future. And we have discussed how there are different cases of where K-MOOC is used to achieve SDGs. So we don't see any questions yet in the chat box. And so if the speakers themselves have any questions about other speakers, let's take those questions first. If not, I would like to ask a common question to all the speakers. So do you have any questions about other presentations or comments? Director Chung? Yes. As I was listening to the 4 presentations, I learned so much. Dr. Beck's COICA activities, well, the CAT on and E projects are very remarkable. But from my understanding, for African countries, students don't do any studying at all and just move on to the next grade. So that basically means that education has stopped. So through the Marshall assistance, well, there was an economic boom, and we've really become the ODA legend. But MOOC is conducted online, and I think that the Korean government and COICA can take the initiative to offer an online EFA. So please. So that was just an idea I wanted to suggest. And Professor Yu said that you are signing a MOU with SSCO. I actually visited that institution. What about closer neighbors like Southeast Asia or ASEAN Secretariat? Southeast Asian education organizations. Can we sign MOUs with ministers of education? Do you have any such MOUs actually in place? And to Director Lee and Professor Bang, Director Lee, you said that the completion rate is quite high. Is there a particular reason? What is the good benefit that you can get from the high completion rate? And Professor Bang, you said that the completion rate is not high. In this, after you complete an IDC course, what is the benefit that you can expect to have? Thank you, speakers. So, Dr. Beck, could you start answering the question?
So thank you very much for the question, Dr. Jung. So regarding the education and how we continue with the education for Africa under the COVID situation, we cannot be involved in everything, but for some cases, we have provided the online content to schools in Africa. A key example is with the Tanzania. So we had some project there, And then under the COVID situation, we allocated more budget, and together with the Good Neighbors and other organizations, we have developed the educational content and provided them in order to fill that educational gap. And also, as for EFA, I think that the KOICA and other countries, we are all highly interested in, and this is not something that we can do it single-handedly. So just like the K-MOOC, maybe we can create a platform where a lot of stakeholders can come together and do the work jointly. So all the lectures that KOICA developed, they're actually funded by taxpayers' money, and we are actually thinking about how to share that with global citizens. And I think that this will enable us to make further contribution to SDG 4. Thank you very much. Next question goes to the Professor Yu.
Thank you for the question. Our cooperation with Cisco that is being pursued, well, that was the topic of the question, and whether we have any plans or any cooperation taking place with ASEAN Secretariat or other Southeast Asian nations. During the second semester of 2021, the G20 forum, irregular forum of GDC took place, and here the head of ASEAN Secretariat, Eduardo Valenzuela, was invited. And there, we agreed to expand cooperation in the future. In addition, we work with OAI to engage in more cooperation. And we work with international NGOs and international organizations, as well as other cooperative bodies, through which we pursue practice of theory and theoretical practice. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the answer. The next question goes to the Director Lee Ji-hong of APSEU. Thank you very much. So there was a question on how we were able to achieve such a high completion rate. And the courses that I talked about was the closed courses. So I think that the key part of this course is that if the courses are provided to the right recipients, then that's actually the way to enhance the completion rate. So we received the funding and we opened this course to a certain group of people in a close way. That's why I think that they're more engaged, more motivated. And also the role of learning community is pretty significant when enhancing completion rate. So we develop a lot of courses targeting specific groups. For example, like if you are the curriculum designers or curriculum developers, then you could practice the curriculum development inside the course, and that really contributes to their professionalism and expertise as well, and that's why I think that they are engaged more actively. Another factor is the relationship with instructors. It's not just a learning or education. With this learning community of small group of people, we can develop a very deep relationship between the instructors and the trainees. And instructors are not just teachers, they are like mentors.
Thank you. And last but not least, Professor Pang. Director Lee just explained how those who really need the education, when they are provided with the education that they need, the completion rate is boosted. So the program of MOOC is by nature open in its format. And that means many massive number of students can first apply for the courses and start out the studies out of interest. But the rate of students who really reach the end and complete all the courses in terms of number of individual students is quite low. It is not just Korean case, we find this low completion rate all over the world. So one way to boost the completion rate would be a COP, building a community of peers. If we can form a group of students with the same purpose, or maybe a professor can offer a flipped learning contents to offer pre and advanced studying and have debates, and also create a synergetic effect with the classroom courses. So in that way, I think the completion rate can be raised. And also, online EFA was an idea presented by Dr. Chung. At the national level, the Korean case of using MOOC has a short history, but still has led to high quality and diverse contents. And for these contents to run successfully, there needs to be the right framework, and I think that Korea already has that. So today's presentation focused on the contents more, but to achieve SDG and for the competitive areas like ICT where Korea has competitive edge, we can make use of that infrastructure to develop and run a MOOC program. And I've seen some good case examples of such frameworks recently. We can pull in and tap into the expertise of these areas so that the hardware side and the software side can be combined to achieve SDGs that can bring together the actual field practitioners with researchers and professors in one complete package. And if we can do that, I think that a really great outcome can come out of these efforts. Thank you.
Thank you very much for all the answers. Do we have any further questions? Any further questions? If not, then I would like to ask one common question to every speaker. So Dr. Chung, I think already started this discussion that what's the effective way for our cooperation, and also in order for a K-MOOC platform to contribute more to SDG, what kind of challenges we have to overcome, and how we cooperate to overcome those challenges. So regarding this question, my question is that in order for a K-MOOC platform to contribute to SDG, what kind of challenges we have to overcome and what kind of cooperation we have to pursue. So, to my fatherist, Professor Yu, can you please start answering this question?
When you're ready, please turn on the microphone. Thank you for the question. Wow, but actually it's a very hard question. SDGs are slightly different from MDGs because MDGs, just to focus on education, discuss how to cooperate and solve the education in developing nations, but SDG focuses on the topic of quality education and not only about and recognizes that education is not just an issue confined to developing nations but around the world, and how education should play a role in how it can provide support through policy and what kind of policy support is needed for education in order to raise the quality of life. So K-MOOC courses how K-MOOC courses can raise the quality of education is not a topic that is confined to certain areas or certain regions. And let me start my discussion with that comment. So if you look at K-MOOC programs developed so far, how we are going to make use of the program and how they can contribute to achieving SDGs, well, no matter what I say, I think that all the comments will be correlated. And Dr. Lee, you mentioned earlier who will create what kind of MOOC contents. Well, that is an important question, but again, how the K-MOOC thus developed will be used and how it should be recognized are important follow-up questions, actually. So Director Lee and Professor Pang already touched on this question. How we are going to make MOOC available to more people. And those who come and take the courses, simply taking the courses shouldn't be all there is. They should use what they learned in the society by getting an institutional recognition of in a way. So NIO makes sure that K-MOOC should be linked to certain degree courses such as master's and PhD. So I think that K-MOOC should be more closely linked to degree courses. For example, if I may share with you one idea, at a university, there is the course of specialization selection. So that means after spending a year and a half, students choose the major by designing their own major. So they design out the major that they will study, and they actually put the name of their major on their own. So I think that K-MOOC can allow students to study in the most creative manner and make the most use of what they learn. And in this way, I think that although the MOOC contents may be limited, but there are different contents that can be offered in Korea and abroad through MOOC that allows the individuals to take leadership and initiative to link them to the area of their own expertise and raise the level of their understanding and expertise. So not only developing new MOOC, but using existing online programs and integrating them and recognizing them as part of MOOC and linking them together will be also needed. So the different elements of MOOC can together raise the quality of education and accessibility and also interrelations between the elements. Thank you.
I personally attended the K-MOOC course, but I myself didn't really complete the course. So in order to activate and promote K-MOOC courses, I believe that the Korean government should allocate some budget so that we can have some pilot projects on coaching. So when coaching is combined with the online courses, then I think that's the way to raise completion rate. So just like what Apseyu did, maybe we can provide some coachings during the online K-MOOC courses. So there are many courses available on K-MOOC platform, and we can actually combine coachings with those online courses. Then I think that we will get some idea on how to effectively enhance the completion rate. So as for KOICA, so we do have the International Cooperation for Education programs, and it is somehow related with the certificate of the ODA, so it's pretty intensive. But I think that we can find some ways to link the K-MOOC with other types of coachings or programs. And also we have to identify some more problems so that we can further improve the K-MOOC. Thank you very much. I don't really know much about the K-MOOC, so I'm not really in the right position. However, listening to the other speakers, I believe that we have to have better understanding of target audience. So based on our own experiences, let's say that educators or the youth, they do have their own needs to be fulfilled. And I think that the different groups do have different needs, and therefore here cookie cutter or one size fits all doesn't really work here. And therefore we have to understand diverse needs of the diverse groups, and we have to create and open the courses that can befit their needs. And also we can utilize expert groups or universities or other organizations. So we have to strengthen the partnership with these organizations. But in order to have more substantive and meaningful partnership that will be ideal, in other words, we have to pursue partnership that can make the best use of the expertise of organizations. And also as for SDG, we have a lot of programs for educators, but still, I think that many educators and teachers, they feel SDG is just too difficult. And therefore, maybe we can provide easier basic courses for SDG so that everybody can be more familiar to the concept of SDG. Thank you.
Well, regarding lifelong education institutions, recently I have been giving lectures. So the global citizenship education and SDG education is an area of interest for local lifelong learning institutions, but they don't know how they can do that. And if K-MOOC can cover those areas, I think it will be great. The Chungnam Citizens University is one example of such lifelong learning institutes. And how we can use K-MOOC or the coordinators and lifelong learning or lifelong learning teachers can take K-MOOC courses because it's a great learning opportunity for them. So IDC and other relevant courses, I think, should be developed in cooperation with these local lifelong learning institutions. Thank you for the question. Well, other speakers touched on how to utilize K-MOOC and how K-MOOC can be used in the future. But I want to focus more on how Asem Mooc initiative was launched with a focus on Korea. Asem Mooc is a platform that connects Asia with Europe. So I think that Korea should play a more active role of a mediator under MOOC. So there is the global agenda of SDG. And in the area of IDC, the ASEAN countries in ASEM, although there is a huge discrepancy between countries in the region, such as Cambodia, Myanmar, Laos versus Brunei and Singapore and these countries. But the low level of expertise or the number of teachers, their capacity, the lack of facilities or educational materials that we often speak of, the challenges that are faced in the partner countries, they relate to a lack of resources. But there are some great contents and K-MOOC contents in Korea. So making use of K-MOOC, these countries can localize the courses or work in cooperation with NILE so that NIO can train and work with APSEU that trains teachers from these partner countries to offer K-MOOC courses to these countries. And with Europe, they have many higher education institutions that are on par with Korean institutions, and there are open education platforms as well. So education exchange program or cooperation programs can be pursued with those countries. While providing support to ASEAN nations, we can engage in cooperation with European nations. And as mentioned earlier, Korean higher education institutions allow students to choose their own area of specialty or majors, and they can design their own majors and design out their own contents. So that really offers a very fresh perspective and possibility. So I wanted to touch on the fact that NIL and Korea can play a more active mediator's role between ASEAN and Europe, since this is Asem Mooc Stakeholders Forum, and I think that we need to remind ourselves of the initial spirit of this initiative. Thank you very much. I asked you a very tough question, but all speakers gave excellent answers. We have received questions online from our participants in the international education, development, and cooperation, how it can be used to achieve SDGs. As for the questions that do not fit with our topic and questions for session A, our organizers have answered those questions. Or we can provide you with an answer on the website of NIO. But let me deliver the question about KOICA. Dr. Beck.
So it's for the CED program. Currently, it is instructor-led Zoom-based courses. And there are issues of the time difference, and also it's very tiring to study for long on Zoom. So I believe that if CED program can cooperate with the MOOC, K-MOOC, and utilize the K-MOOC content, then things could be much more efficient and better. So last year when we had no platform, Asia was okay, but when it comes to Africa, it was extremely difficult to provide the courses because there was no platform to put up the content. And so somehow we were forced to provide the flipped learnings in Africa. But now we have the CED on the online platform. And it provides the access to many countries. But we are still in the early stage, so we haven't really reviewed the cooperation with K-MOOC. And during the meeting, I actually proposed that these educational courses have to be open to everyone across the world. However, there was no agreement on that yet, and also not a lot of budgets were not really allocated, and we are still in the beginning stage. So I think that with the passage of time, we can continue to talk about how to cooperate with K-MOOC and how we can utilize the K-MOOC content. Thank you very much. Thank you for active discussion with many questions and answers. I believe that the cooperation through K-MOOC, we actually need both software and hardware approaches. And regarding that, the Professor Yu said that in order to achieve SDG, especially for the SDG 4, this is not just an issue of the access, rather this is to provide high quality education. And he said that as for specific ways, for Korean universities, they can utilize the K-MOOC to encourage students to design their own courses and also give them more opportunities to build network with more diverse people. And also the director Park, she talked about the self-paced learnings for MOOC and she mentioned that we have to allocate more budget so that we can combine coaching and self-paced teaching with the online programs to further develop the online courses. And she said that for this coaching, if the government funding should be provided, and also the Director Lee also gave us very good suggestions. So she said that we have to build diverse partnerships to make the best use of the expertise of the partner organizations. And also for many general public, SDG is still a too difficult concept, and therefore we have to find ways to promote the public awareness on SDG in a more effective way. And then Dr. Chung talked about how we can utilize MOOC to provide the lifelong educations to various organizations, and he mentioned that there is a high demand for lifelong education, and therefore K-MOOC should be better utilized to meet that demand. And last but not least, Professor Pang, he talked about the unique role of Korea that can serve as a bridge between Asia and Europe, and in this era and our present time, he said that the Nile has a very important role to play to promote international cooperation. And I'd like to once again thank all the participants for your time. And with that, we would like to conclude the Asem Mooc Stakeholders Forum 2021. I would like to thank speakers and also discussants as well as attendees. Thank you very much.